Hi, I'm Sagey.
And I'm Bard.
And together we are the Sagey Bards.
You may be asking, what does that mean?
A sage is someone who's wise, and a bard is a storyteller.
Our channel exists to look at things that are happening in the world
through the lens of stories and maybe a little humor.
My background, I'm a problem solver. I like to look at problems and I like to invent things. I've filed for patents. I just love problem solving. There was a quote that I saw in a book called Reality Check by Guy Kawasaki. He used to work with Steve Jobs back in the Mac days. And it said, if you can solve a problem, you can be rich. And that's kind of where I'm at. So every time I watch the news, I look at things, and I'm always problem solving. That's how Vecco bags was invented. I actually watched a news program, and I saw that this guy was having trouble with his baby, and that's how I invented that bag. So that's it. Yeah. Problem solving.
I'm Sagey, and I have served as a professor and a teacher for a long time. I've also been a business consultant and been involved in many different businesses. Through that, I've learned from many mistakes I've made, because my motto has always been, I'm dumb enough that I'll try anything at least twice.
I was telling you, when I was young, the 4th to me was just about, honestly, fireworks, hot dogs, kid stuff. Like, it didn't really have any meaning. I mean, I knew, I guess, from history class that the 4th was about, America getting independence from England, but I didn't really think about that. But now that, now being an adult and sort of paying attention to politics, paying attention to what's happening in the world, independence actually means a lot to me now. It means a whole lot. And I really do value the 4th of July. Now the funny thing is I don't even really go and watch fireworks anymore. Now I actually think about how America used to be a colony and how we didn't have our freedoms, and how I look at countries that don't have freedom. When I was overseas, I used to see all the American military, like when I'd go over to Japan. I've been to Japan a few times. I'd see all the American military. We're occupying Japan. And, it's not, in a harsh way, but they're not necessarily free, from us, because of the war. So no one's occupying us. No one's here. There's no military here. There's no bases from China or whatever here. Not yet, at least. But so anyway, that's how I feel about the 4th. So the 4th, to me, independence is huge. And I think that every American, regardless of your politics, we should really kind of look at where we came from and where we're at right now.
For me, I also have really fond memories of the 4th of July. My dad used to get us up really early in the morning and drag us over to the mall in Washington, D.C., and we'd camp out from basically 9 o'clock in the morning until fireworks started around 9 at night.
Right.
And by the time we packed up and I was crying and we were in the car, it was probably close to midnight. Mm-hmm. And I just loved the booming sound of the fireworks, maybe even more so than the lights from it. But as I've gotten older, I too have come to appreciate the 4th of July in a different way, in terms of what freedoms that we're able to enjoy in our country that other people are still fighting for. And it's that fight and plight for freedom is something that really resonates with me when I see different independence movements around the world.
All right, so we're gonna talk about some quick 4th of July facts. All right, so I thought this was, interesting. Let us know what you think in the comments. Americans typically eat 150 million hot dogs on Independence Day, enough to stretch from DC to LA more than 5 times, according to the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council. Who knew that there was a National Hot Dog and Sausage Council? I think that's pretty crazy. There's an actual council for hot dogs and sausage. What do they talk? What do you think they would talk about? How much can you talk about hot dogs? Really? Like, why do you need a council for that? No, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you need a council? Like, well,
Maybe it's just to promote sausage eating.
I guess. All right, you go.
I wonder if they have more hot dogs that are eaten on at the Super Bowl, or is that more of a pizza holiday?
I don't know. That's another fact we could probably look into, but I want to dig into this sausage council.
Well, here's something else.
Is it considered a sausage fest when they get together? When they get together?
You know, here's another strange fact about the 4th of July. John Adams actually believed that July 2 should be the day that the 4th of July was celebrated, because that is when they first adopted the resolution for independence.
Okay. All right, so next fun fact about 4th of July. John Adams, annoyed that Independence Day wasn't celebrated on July 2, Adams reportedly turned down invitations to July 4th celebrations throughout his life. That's pretty petty. Yeah, that's. I mean, what does it really matter if? Why does it have to be on the second? Why is he so adamant about the second? I guess we can look at the historical facts. So, here, let me read this. It says, at the time, John Adams believed that July 2nd, not July 4, would be the date remembered by history. But why? Why was he so adamant about
I guess it's the day that they voted and said, you know what, we're tired of being part of England. There's no way of bridging this gap anymore.
Okay.
We have to move towards becoming an independent nation.
Okay.
And since he was a bitter, according to history, also a very short person.
How short was he?
I don't know, I think he was like 5'3".
So little man syndrome. That's why he needed it to be
But
on
anyways.
that day. All right, cool. So, want to do the next one?
Yeah. Sure. Here's a really fun fact about hot dog eating. And one of the 154 million hot dogs or whatever Bard was talking about. But in 2018, Joey Chestnut won a competition by eating 74 hot dogs and buns in less than 10 minutes. Can you believe that?
That's great. How do you get ready for a hot dog competition? What do you think people do?
LeBron James, take that.
Looks like that was sponsored by Nathan's. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? That a hot dog company would sponsor a hot dog eating competition. I guess that's just free press. Let's see. Massachusetts became the first state to make the 4th of July an official state holiday in 1781. You know what this makes me wonder? Who was the last state? Who do you think the last state was?
Well, it would have had to be
Maybe Hawaii?
Hawaii, because they became the state in 1959, right?
Okay. You think there's any holdouts before Hawaii? Like, who would you think would be the last state? I mean, we don't really know. We could look it up, but who would you think would be the last state?
Might be California, because we're always trying to leave, right?
Okay. All right, let's do another one.
Okay, finally, Independence Day was not a federal holiday until 1870. So can you believe that? For almost the first 100 years, it wasn't a recognized federal holiday.
I wonder if Adams had anything to do with that, or maybe someone in his family. He's just a constant hater.
Well, he could have only held it up until July 4, 1826, because he actually died on Independence Day. He
died on Independence Day?
He and Thomas Jefferson, both of them who hated each other for a good portion of their lives, ended up becoming really good friends and dying on the same day.
Was this a suicide pact? Or like, how they manage to do that? I mean, the timing's
July 4, 1826.
Great timing, guys. So he died on the 4th. So that was his last. So he was a hater up until then. So he died on the day he hated.
Yep.
Interesting. Fun fact. All right.
It wasn't Independence Day to him, at least.
Now he's truly independent. All right, cool. We're moving on.
Well, one of the things that we're going to talk about in today's show is Roger Williams. And it is Independence Day, and I thought it would be really valuable to share something about a man who really has formed the bedrock of what it means to be a private citizen with rights, rights that are granted by God, that are completely independent of what you could have someone vote on. And I think that Roger Williams is a great place to start. And so just for those of you who might not know who I'm talking about, we're not talking about Roger Williams, the composer, who actually chose his name, Roger Williams, because he admired the individual liberty and freedoms that Roger Williams, the founder of Rhode Island, strongly believed in and advocated during his life. So to start off with, I've got a short video that I think would help introduce this point.
All right, so let's take a look at the video.
Truly, after many months at sea, Griffin Peterson and his shipmates finally reached the New World.
I declare this land Quahog.
This place is nothing but a wilderness. What are we gonna do?
We're gonna build a new settlement. We'll have a happy new life and we'll have equal rights for all. Except blacks, Asians, Hispanics, Jews, gays, women, Muslims. Everybody who's not a white man. And I mean white. So no Italians, no Polish. Just people from Ireland, England, and Scotland. But only certain parts of Scotland and Ireland. Just full-blooded whites. No, you know what? Not even whites. Nobody gets any rights. America.
Hilarious. We're just coming back from watching that clip, that Family Guy clip, and was that Family Guy?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Family
Family
Guy.
Guy. Okay, that
so I
was
thought
pretty
that would
hilarious, yeah.
comically illustrate that even though we talk about how the founding or not the founding fathers, but the Puritans had left England for religious freedom, when they actually came to create a society in the New World in Massachusetts,
Right.
they created perhaps the most repressive form of freedom that one could possibly imagine. And it was one where only men had rights, white men. Almost everyone else was excluded. And it's from that Puritan tradition that you get some of the great classics of American literature, like Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter or The House of the Seven Gables, where he's drawing on that background of Puritanism and Calvinism, which was really repressive and kind of all-controlling. It was basically the perfect synthesis of church and state.
What they had walked away from over in the old world. So in terms of freedom, like, how do you move from that? Like, how did we move from that system that they set up after coming here to where we are now? What do you think about that?
When you look at it, Roger Williams is the first American who came over and he said, you know what, this is not right. And he actually espoused a lot of the same views as these Puritans, but he had a much more open mind, and he called it liberty of conscience. And in his view of liberty of conscience, he said, you know what, you can respect other people who have a different opinion. Everyone doesn't have to have the same opinion. We need to respect each other just as being individuals created by God with certain rights. And he actually was influenced also by his friend John Milton, who also influenced Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson and the actual founders or founding fathers.
Okay, all right. So basically a normal society.
A normal society.
What do you think the catalyst was that moved them from, hey, rights for just a small group to, everyone? Were they forced to kind of open it up, or was it something that just sort of gradually got there?
Well, Roger Williams, he actually wasn't forced by anyone. He came, and what was unique about Roger Williams is that he arrived and he actually treated the natives as equals.
Okay.
He didn't treat them as savages, which is what the other settlers came and treated them like. He said, you know what, these people actually own this land. And he even stepped further. He said, we are illegally occupying land that doesn't belong to us. And we couldn't have been granted this land by the King of England because the King of England never had this land. This is land that belongs to the natives. So when you look at how his colony, the colony of Rhode Island, is unique in that all of that land that was given to, or not given, was purchased by Roger Williams, was done so, and he maintained positive relationships with the natives throughout his life.
So he, do you think Calvinism sort of drove, do you think his religious convictions, his faith sort of drove him in his ideas, in his relationship with his fellow man?
I absolutely believe that.
Okay, so...
Even though he later on becomes the founder of the First Baptist Church, he was a person who was open-minded. And at a time where Puritans basically said no one has any rights in our society unless they believe exactly as we want them or tell them to believe,
Right.
He even supported rights for atheists, which was truly revolutionary. And
Interesting.
when we talk about the Revolutionary War later on, which is why we have Independence Day, Roger Williams' thinking was probably 200 years ahead of other people, because he was even an advocate for ending slavery.
Okay, cool.
No, Roger Williams was truly an amazing guy, and for those of you who are interested in Independence Day and the evolution of American thought as it pertains to individual liberty, then he is a man who is definitely worth studying.
All right, guys, next section we're going to do is the trending topics. We're going to look at, there's an article on a website called theweek.com. Actually, haven't even heard of this website. Have you heard of this website?
I haven't, but it says 10 things you need to know for July 2, 2023.
All right, so let's take a look at this. First story is Elon Musk imposes new read limits on Twitter. I want to take a look at this because this is actually really interesting. It says, Twitter owner Elon Musk said Saturday that the social media platform would implement daily limits on the number of posts users can read. That's kind of crazy. Why would you limit how much? Wouldn't it make sense to want someone to read as much as they can?
Yeah, but you know, to be honest,
Capitalism-wise?
he's only limiting them to 10,000 tweets a day. So if you need more than 10,000 tweets a day, maybe you need to.
Maybe there's something wrong. Step away from the Twitter.
Maybe you need to figure something else out with your life.
All right, so yeah, true. All right, Musk citing extreme levels of data scraping, I'm not sure what that is, and system manipulation on Twitter, says the limits are only a temporary measure. Okay, so he's going to go back. For now, though, verified users will be able to read 10,000 tweets per day, while unverified can read 1,000. That's still a lot, though. 1,000?
It's a lot, but you know what?
I don't ever read 1,000 tweets.
I don't even have a Twitter account, but I'm thinking that productivity across the country is going to increase. So
that's crazy. So new unverified accounts will be limited to just 500 tweets per day. That's still not unreasonable. I mean, do you really want to be online that long anyway? 500 tweets?
It actually,
500? That's a lot.
It actually might be better for society.
He might just want to leave it like this. Yeah, honestly. Musk said these figures were raised by Musk. These figures were raised by Musk throughout the day as controversy ignited over the plan, with many users also reporting problems accessing the site. This marked the latest brush up for the social media tool since Musk took over in 2022. So
this is definitely an unfortunate thing, but I think that you should probably not be spending your day reading more than 10,000 tweets.
Yeah, I think 500 tweets is reasonable for a normal human being, right? I mean,
I would say.
I think anything outside of that's kind of, you probably need to go see a specialist, addiction
Get some
specialist.
friends,
Yeah,
real
get some
live
friends.
friends.
Yeah, real life friends, yeah. Not AI. All right, so the next story is about the 2 dead, 28 injured during Baltimore mass shooting. At least 2 people died and 28 more were injured during a mass shooting at a block party in Baltimore on Sunday. You know, this is kind of normal now.
It's kind of normal.
2 people dead is honestly kind of a good day. I mean, it's sad to say.
Baltimore, Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to seeing 26 people shot on the weekend, 50 shot. I've seen this.
These people should have been spending more time tweeting.
Maybe this is because Twitter was down. See, Elon, we need to get the tweets up.
I blame Elon Musk on this.
Yeah, this is Elon's fault. All right, we're just kidding. All right, news out of France. Don't care. United Airlines to make changes to avoid. Well, back to Twitter real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think this will affect the stock price? You think this will affect their
absolutely.
money? You think
Absolutely.
limiting tweets? How does that? Well, what do you think? Do you think people are that strung out, like that, hard up on not being able to have 500 tweets?
I think
Or
so.
more than 500 tweets? Really?
I think there's a lot of people who have become so absorbed in their virtual world that
Okay.
their life is. I mean, part of their life is crushed.
I can see that.
I
If
mean-
they're online all day, I could see that. I could, yeah, I guess. I wonder if it'll affect the stock price, though.
I think it
Think
will.
it'll move much? You think it'll normalize? People will get used to it and just kind of be like, whatever.
I think it'll initially go down and probably rebound over a little bit of time, but I think that this just comes on the heels of a lot of different setbacks for Elon Musk because he's kind of botched the takeover, at least from a financial standpoint.
Okay, interesting. All right, let's go on to the next story. United Airlines to make changes to avoid disruption, CEO says. There's one thing here in the article that kind of, not the article, but this is from Reuters. It says United Airlines is planning to make changes in its flight operations in order to avoid major disruptions ahead of the 4th of July weekend. United CEO Scott Kirby said Saturday. In a memo obtained by Reuters, Kirby said, we must also do a better job of planning against the things that are outside our control so that we can be in a position to recover more quickly. It's kind of giving me Southwest
Well,
vibes.
you can't really recover from things that are outside of your control. That's the nature of an
accident?
Yeah, an accident. I mean, and they had 19% of their flights in June that were canceled, but most of those were due to adverse weather. So, you know.
Speaking of which, I don't even know if that's really in the news cycle anymore. Is it? Is it still in a news cycle? It's not on the trending, but this guy, I was talking to some friends about the Titan and just kind of learning about getting into the mindset of this guy. Did you know that he actually flew? There were two people. Okay, so CNN had a report where there were two guys that were supposed to be on the Titan who backed out at the last minute.
Yeah, two billionaires from Las Vegas.
Right. Did you see that story? How they were like, the first thing they noticed was this guy flew up to them on an experimental plane. He's kind of reckless when you think about it. Like, this is
I don't
a
know
pretty
if
reckless
Stephen
guy.
Rush was reckless, but he was pushing the limits. And, you know, we need people like Stephen Rush because Stephen Rush, through tragedies like this last one, push science forward.
Regulations for it as well.
Yes.
Which a lot of people were calling for.
Well, and
with
I
that.
really, it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but it's going to make travel to 13,000 feet below much safer for people in the future.
That's true, because now that he's basically killed himself and all these people, now we're going to get, because this was unregulated. And,
Yeah.
you know, I know some people are against regulations. I know, I think, honestly, I really do think smarter people have some sort of moral responsibility to help and protect people who aren't as smart. And there are people who would literally just kill themselves doing stupid things if it weren't for the law and regulations forcing them to have safer equipment and things like that.
And Bard, I'm kind of probably on the opposite end of that. I know
you are.
I think that you should have the right to do stupid things. I mean, and when we look at Stephen Rush, what he did now looks like he was stupid, but obviously he believed in it enough to get on that and be the pilot of that boat himself.
I know,
So,
but plenty of people believe in stupid things. Here's the thing, with, say for instance, with air travel, right? Would you, now, the people who got talked into going on this boat, I wouldn't say strong-armed, but maybe sold. They were sold on the safety. That was one of the things people were concerned about safety. And just because you believe something doesn't mean it's actually safe.
They didn't have. No one forced him to get on it. I mean, if I had that,
Well, he sold it to him.
I've been fascinated with the story of the Titanic for as long as I can remember. I remember when the new National Geographic articles first came out in 1985. I read all of them, and if I had had that opportunity to get on that, I would have done it.
All right, check this out. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to the submersible. People believed him that it was safe. These are people who weren't experts in their field. He was an expert, but he was told by other experts not to do it because it wasn't safe.
But I bet you have. So right now,
I don't think
these guys from Las Vegas are wanting to say, "Oh yeah, it was dangerous, and we had all of these concerns." But I bet you could find a whole bunch of papers that are from other professionals who say, "You know what? We think that this is going to be totally fine." Otherwise,
all signed by that one guy.
Well, I don't think that any one person is going to say, "Well, I'm going to build it out of carbon fiber and it's going to be safe."
That's the thing. No one in the industry supported that carbon fiber, and the carbon fiber was repurposed was used from Boeing, so it was already possibly stressed.
Well, I bet you the people who did sign off and say it was okay have now disappeared.
Probably, fair point. But and so was the captain, and those people who went on the ship, they're gone too. I mean, I don't even know if they've confirmed that they actually have remains or not. But the thing is that I think here's where I'm going to push back. I think regulation is needed to temper crazy. I think there are crazy people. There are people, and he knew that. The very fact that he had them signing this giant waiver was basically like people were explaining it 10 different ways you can die. He knew it was possible. He knew it was experimental. But the thing is you're willing to risk your life. That's one thing. But don't charge people $250,000 and tell them it's safe, and then have them sign this thing, and then now they're gone. I think that's the difference. And I think we have a responsibility to protect people. To make, like for instance, if I'm in a car, I want to know that car is safe, don't you? To protect you and your family, because your family didn't. They agreed to get in the car because you're driving. But what if that car is not safe because someone in the government's like?
I think it's different though when you're talking about experimental stuff. For example, if you're traveling to the moon or this space travel by Bezos or Musk or whatever, there is so little research done on that compared to collision tests and airbags and everything else. So when you're on the cutting edge of pretty much anything, there are mistakes that happen. And science, engineering, all advance because of that sacrifice.
Do you think that he was being a little bit
Cavalier
in the terms that no one uses carbon fiber in that application? That's just unheard of. And he didn't properly even test it. A proper testing would be to build a tube, send it down 100 times and see what happens. He didn't do that.
But he'd been using this for a long time.
Right. So, but here's the thing. In aviation, let me give you a good example. With the forces that act on the airplane, those airplanes need to be inspected every time and tested before in the design process, so it's proven to be safe. People, just because he's cavalier doesn't mean that everyone else wants to practice that same level of, arrogance and thinking that I think he sold them on the idea that it was safe. There were people who backed out. He was sued by a former employee, and other people were telling him it wasn't safe, and he ignored them. And I think when you have all these scientists and people who are looking at the structure, And when you ignore that, I think that proves something about you as a person. Why not say, okay, you know what? Let me take another look at this. Let me do some more testing. Let's bring it through some more. They had agencies that were ready to test it. Did you know that?
I didn't.
They had agencies that were willing to test it, but he didn't want to get it tested. And guess what? Because he knew that he could operate in international waters where he didn't need testing and oversight, he decided to do that. I think that's messed up. I think that's messed up. What do you?
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
I still don't.
You're gonna stick with that.
But then again, I espouse more of a libertarian perspective. You know, I think that inherent in freedom is the willingness to allow people to make decisions that ultimately might result in self-harm.
Look at let's look at air travel today.
Yeah.
We know air travel is the safest form of traveling, period.
Yep.
Right? Do you feel good about that, knowing that it's been tested and that...
I'm still more scared to do that than drive.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe because you don't have the information on it.
No, I've read it. I have enough information, but
okay.
I like being in control.
You know that airplanes, the redundancy in airplanes is ridiculous. When I started studying aviation, that's when I realized how safe it was. We'll go years without an accident.
Yeah.
On the road, there's several people who've died today already. You know? So I think even though cars are a lot safer, well, you're on the ground, so you feel safe. I think there's an illusion of safety, but the fact is you're much more likely to die in a car.
Oh, I agree.
In an airplane, and you're much more likely to die in a submersible built of carbon fiber than in an airplane.
If it had been built out of titanium or something else, they probably would have been way better off.
Exactly, because and that's what they were arguing. The fact that I don't know if he was cutting corners.
Well, it's also the shape of it too. I mean, the shape of it was wrong. I mean, the best shape would be a sphere getting 6,000 pounds per square inch.
Right.
I mean, equally.
Right, and then considering carbon fiber is not known for tensile strength that I know of, the strength, pulling, the ability to withstand pulling. That's what steel's good for. But carbon fiber is just pieces. It's like paper, man. It's like hard paper. It's harder than steel, but it doesn't have the tensile strength of steel, and I think that's an issue. And I think that's where look at the result. As soon as they pulled that submersible up, they could tell right away it was the carbon fiber that failed.
Yeah.
And they told him what would happen. Matter of fact, one of the billionaire's sons, I don't know if he's an engineer or what, but 48% of billionaires are engineers. They come from engineering background. Wow. He looked at it and he thought it was unsafe. He did his research and he was like, this thing's unsafe, and he decided not to go.
I think they said some of the equipment that was in there was like from Harbor Freight or something like that. So, I mean, there's definitely different things that he could have used, but
this guy, I mean,
I will say that I do appreciate the fact that he was willing to get in it himself and be the captain.
He should have gotten
every time.
Yeah, he should have gotten in by himself and just left it at that. The thing is, anyway.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
That enough. We've solved that issue. The Daily Stupid. I think the Daily Stupid is getting in that submersible. I honestly think the Daily Stupid is getting in that submersible. What are you giving the Daily Stupid?
The Daily Stupid I would give to the news that Hunter Biden's baby is not able to use his last name. And
why does she want for obvious reasons? Is she trying to play off the name in terms of influence and wealth?
I think that it would afford some level of recognition to
the child,
Hunter's daughter.
Okay.
Rather than basically buying the child and the mom off with some of his third grade art.
So all right. So Biden will defend his son in all other instances, but in this mistake with the prostitute who had his kid, he's not going to defend him. She can't get his name.
She can't get his name, and
what's stopping them from her getting the name? It has to be marriage. It has to be paperwork.
Yeah, paperwork. But right now, and Biden and his wife have never even met the kid, and neither has Hunter Biden.
That's sad. Guys, if you haven't seen, Google Bill Clinton's half-black son.
I got to check that out.
Think it's in the comments, okay? Think it's in the comments. All right, so one of the things I was going to say about Hunter Biden, this is funny. Obviously, what's stopping her from changing her last name to Biden?
Well, she should just change her name to Biden.
Right. Why can't she just change her own name?
I don't know.
I'd spell it Biden and just to be annoying. Anyway, guys, this is our first episode of the Sagey Bard. Thank you for joining us on our first episode. Look for it. Definitely like, subscribe. Definitely like, because we are saving up to help Vladimir Putin out with his pension plan. Okay.
Retirement plan.
His retirement. Okay. But definitely like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Share with a friend. We have a lot more topics coming up, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you.
All right.